Okay. I'll send you the link to watch it. Where do I send it? I'll send it on Facebook.
Sure.
Where do I send it? I'll send it on Facebook.
Sure.
Echoing.
Yep. I got it pulled up over here.
Okay, there. Yeah, I can see the comment. I'll send it on Facebook.
Sure.
Probably want to mute that. Echoing.
Yep. I got it pulled up over here.
Okay, there. Yeah, I can see the comment. I'll send it on Facebook.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I hear the echo of the YouTube too.
Yeah, I just muted YouTube.
Okay. All right. Cool. Oh, we're a couple minutes early.
That works.
All right, I'm gonna start recording and then we can get started if you're ready. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the astrology workshop with Bill Duvendack. And Bill, would you like to talk a little bit about what you do? And first of all, thank you so much for coming on, actually, because I'm I'm actually a big fan. I have some of your books, and I also follow you on like every social media platform. I'm sure you see me comments all the time because I really, really love the memes that you post. The the daily memes, daily astrology memes, where it's like today is gonna suck, like, and this is why. Like, I really like uh this straightforward memes and really just like giving a heads up. And sometimes they do go along with my day. And other times it's like, oh, I could see that a little bit. But and sometimes I see them at the end of the day and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like this, you know? So yeah, they're really great. So I just want to say thanks for those and
Well,
I'll post all of the your links for everybody else as well if they don't already follow you.
well, thank you for that. It's nice to see you're blossoming here on YouTube. That's always a bonus. For people that I have not met yet, my name is Bill Duvendack. I'm a professional astrologer, author, tarot reader, medium, uh, teacher, rogue, scoundrel, dude that posts memes, but more memes along with the daily horoscope, not just some shit posting meme lord.
Yes, yeah, they're great. They really are.
Yeah. You got to use things strategically because if you don't, then it just waters everything down.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I watch a lot of astrology people on like TikTok, and some of their stuff is just bullshit. So I like how real your stuff is. It's
Well,
real.
that's what I go for is accuracy and practicality.
Mm-hmm.
Too many people get caught in the woo woo, or too many people don't know what they're talking about, and it shows with inaccuracy. So I like to combat that because we need something to stop the flow of disinformation. And for those of you watching, a good red flag is if they call themselves an astrologist.
Astrologist. I didn't know you did mediumship too. That's really cool.
Yep, I was a legally certified medium for 9 years. and I
How do
still
you,
do it as part of my business.
you can get legally certified to be a medium? I genuinely did not know that. How does
Yep.
one do that?
I was a spiritualist minister.
Oh, okay.
So when we set up the 501c3, we had a little blurb in the bylaws and constitution saying, you're a legally certified medium if you go through the seminary and become a minister, and it got approval from the government. So yeah, you can. All you got to do is set up a church, or in my case, with my business, technically it's legally certified through there too.
Awesome. There must be some tax benefits from that.
There are.
Maybe I'll message you later about this.
I'm always happy to help people set up an LLC for this.
Awesome. Okay, so what I really wanted to talk about today was how your astrology affects the energies that you work with, or rather how it kind of guides you to the energies that you want to work with towards your goals. So like and also like towards the spirits that you work with.
So I'll start off real basic for those of you that may not know a lot about astrology, and then we'll fine tune it from there. There's really two ways to look at it. The first one is see what's going on in the daily sky. That doesn't require any knowledge of astrology other than the basics. And many times, if you're doing that, then you know your elements, and when you know your elements, you can fine tune the spirits you work with. So, for example, right now the sun is in Leo, the moon is in Sagittarius, Mercury is in Leo, Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, and Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries are fire signs. So, what that tells us is fire spirits and fire beings are particularly active right now and easy to be accessed. So you don't have to know anything about yourself astrologically. You can just look at the sky and say, okay, that's the dominant vibe. So those spirits are ready to be worked with. So then you can take it the next step, which is you know your basics in astrology. Most people know their sun sign, or they can at least find out, and they can see if you are compatible with the fire signs. So, for example, air signs and fire signs are compatible with fire signs, earth and water signs, not so much. And it doesn't mean you can't work with them, it just means it might take more effort if you're a water or an earth sign.
Say if somebody was like a water sign in their sun, but they didn't have a whole lot of water in the rest of their chart. It's like fire and air, for example, mine.
Now
Um,
that, yeah, now that that's a segue to part number two, which is if you know
okay.
your chart, then you can fine tune it. Your chart's like mine, where we both have uh, splashes of water, and then, funny enough, both of us have strong air and fire. So we would actually work well with fire and air signs, even though we've got our sun sign that's in water. So
Right.
we
So
could still work with that. Right. It's
it
not
doesn't necessarily mean
100%
your
based
sun
on your
sign.
sun
Okay.
sign.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's a really small part of it is your sun sign, honestly. Like, at least I found that in my workings.
Definitely. And that's even to the degree that in Vedic astrology, which comes from India, they just treat the sun like a normal planet. Over here in the West, it's like the sun, but over there, it's like, yeah, it's the sun.
Right. Right. Um, yeah, because I mean, I've worked a lot with the fire spirits, but I really love what you said about the time of year and what's going on and looking at the planets now, because that's something I have personally never thought of. And it makes a whole lot of sense in the aspect of who starts showing up for me spirit wise at certain times. And I'm just like, okay, so, and then they start showing up for others as well. So I'll hear, like, I think it was like last month. Yeah, like me and my group, they're like, oh, wow, Belial's around a lot today. Or he's been around a lot lately and making his rounds. And it's like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because it's fire sign season. So, like,
Right, exactly. And you
uh-huh.
could extrapolate this to mean like Asmodeus, really anybody like that that has that strong fire traits in their character.
And it's kind of hard though with them because if you go to one website, they will associate one spirit with one element, then you go to another, and then they say it's another element. So that's kind of wish-washy.
Well, and you know, we've known each other long enough that you know a lot of my personality is to cut through the bullshit. And on one hand, the nature and characteristics of the spirits are subjective to us, to our interpretation of them. And you can highlight different parts of their myths, different parts of their stories to associate with particular elements. So that's piece number one. I understand the subjectivity. But the reason I say that is because there's some really stupid shit out there. Asmodeus, for example, Asmodeus is not corresponding to water in any way, shape, or form
No
because all of
way.
his fucking stories are fire based.
Yeah.
Specifically lust, but really just fire.
Yeah.
So if you're on a website and it says, "Oh, Asmodeus, Lord of Earth," well, get off the website. Just save yourself. Don't try and rationalize it. It's not worth it. They don't know what they're
Right.
talking about.
Right. They're just making shit up. Or
Yeah, and then what complicates it is one grimoire or one source might have heavy fire stories in it, and another grimoire has different elemental correspondences to the same being. So then you got to decide which grimoire you're going to use, and when you decide, don't change your mind later. It dilutes your energy, it cuts your forces, and a house divided can't stand.
right. Absolutely. I love that. So what is there like a key placement in somebody's natal chart that would reveal someone's natural connection to working with spirits? Like, what is the first thing that you would look for if somebody, I mean, that's kind of, I guess maybe what kind of spirits would they work with? Because I know everybody can connect with spirit, because even like Christians will like pray to Jesus or whatever. But so like, is there some part in their natal chart that would point out to what kind of energies that they would naturally be drawn towards? I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, there's the elemental correspondences like we just talked about with your sun sign. If
Right.
you don't know anything about astrology, usually, if I had to narrow it down to certain planets or things like that, the top three or four I would look at would be this, or five, variety. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And we could narrow that down further to Sun, Moon, and Mercury. The reason for that is the Sun is our inherent masculine side, the Moon is our inherent feminine side, and Mercury is the ability to move between the planes. So, worst case scenario, then, you could say, well, I know enough about my chart to know I've got my sun sign in a water sign, my moon sign in a fire sign, and my Mercury in an air sign. Well, then you could work with spirits of any of those types as long as you accentuate your process based on the spirit. So, for example, if your emotions were extra strong, working with the spirit that goes along with the element of your moon would be good. But if you're like, oh, I'm just curious, I just want to have a conversation with generic Q spirit, then Mercury, because you're just working on shifting your consciousness through the planes to contact the mindset of that spirit so that you don't really need any elemental compatibility. You're just like swinging by a friend's house and saying, hi, what's up?
So you said Mercury is your ability to switch between planes. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Mercury is what's known as a psychopomp, and really it's a little more than that. If you look at the stories of Mercury, Mercury was a traveler. So one of the things that Mercury and Hermes, of course, did was move between the planes. So then anytime you're doing any kind of spirit work, whether it is facilitating a connection with a spirit, like doing a meditation or a creative visualization, or even if you're wanting to do some divination with the spirit, working with Mercury first to put yourself in a position to work with them is usually the first good thing to do.
Okay.
And each one of the planets are like that. And what I mean is you've got to look at the general essence of the planets, but when in doubt, go back to their myths and their stories. That's something that's left out of astrology today is they memorize characteristics of planets, but they don't know the backstories and the myths from the culture that the planets came from.
So, so I know you have like a Patreon. Do you teach stuff like that in your Patreon?
I
Like,
can, yeah. I keep my Patreon very, I'll say generic, but really it's more wide open. So, like, there is a tier there to do like a mentorship, and I co-design that with the student. So it's not me saying you will learn this, it's what do you want to learn? Okay, then we'll do it. I try and keep my ego to a minimum with that because it's not for me, it's for the person.
right. So it's whatever they have to learn. I like that. I
Yeah, and I like to use resources that they have because I don't want to be the guy that's like, okay, we'll work together. Now go out and drop $1,000 on all these new fucking books. No, no, no. What you got in your library? We'll start with that and fill in the gaps as we go.
Right. Right, well, I think that's a great approach. That's kind of how I approach things too. If a client wants to work with me one-on-one, it's like, okay, well, where are you at? You know, like I mean, that's really the best way to work with somebody. So,
Yeah, and to us talking about it, it seems like a minor thing,
mhm.
but we need to put it in historical context because it's really a huge magical paradigm shift. If you look at most mystery schools over the last 200 years or so, they all just assume you know nothing, and then the first part of their core curriculum is teaching you the basics of magic. Well, nowadays, anybody with internet access can go online and find the basics of magic. So the approach you and I are taking and others like that is actually more modern and it shows an evolution of the art because we're working from the perspective that you either know it or if I say something you don't know, you'll either ask me about it or you'll go look it up on your own. And even if you find bad information, then you'll bring it back to the conversation and we'll clarify what's wrong and what's right. So
Right.
really, we're at the cutting edge.
That is true. That is true. But yeah, when the clients I work with, they have learned a lot of their stuff on their own already, and then they come to me, and I like it that way. Like I don't like teaching beginners because when they ask me beginner stuff, it's like go read a book.
Well,
Go-
and I got this epiphany because pre-COVID,
Come on.
all most of what I taught was beginner courses, and they were fine. But since COVID and everybody really just got immersed into the internet and what we're talking about here
Mhm.
during that period, ever since then, attendance for my 101 classes are down in general, or people are not asking me 101 questions anymore. So it tells me
Wow.
there's been a shift in consciousness.
Yeah.
So then, if there's been a shift in consciousness, I'm not going to dig in my feet and say, we got to do it this way. I'm going to say, okay, cool. And this was inspired by something I learned when I worked in education many years ago. I worked in the media department of a university, and I was talking to an instructor because I was looking for somebody to shoot some videos for my business. And he said, well, that thinking that I had was about 10 to 15 years out of date. When students go into college to do, say, learn video production, it's already assumed that they know the basics of how to operate a camera, that they know the basics of editing, because the software and the technology is so available that the college professors just assume you know this. So even to a certain degree, colleges and universities don't teach from the foundation up anymore. You're expected to have a certain degree of knowledge coming into it. So I just kind of adapted that to where I'm at now.
Perfect. Yeah. Got to adapt to stay relevant.
Exactly. Exactly it.
Mm. I did want to talk some about the 12th house too, and how it might influence our access to the astral realm or spirit communication, and if there are any other placements or spots in the houses that would indicate like more psychic abilities in a person.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I haven't really seen this talked about in too many books. Usually it's like a sentence in a chapter in one book, and then you don't
Right.
know shit about it the rest of the book. But because of who I am, I've done a lot of research in this area, and it might become a book one day. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, the first thing is this is aimed at people that have their astrological chart. And I say that because a lot of this information is going to be based on the houses in astrology, not particular signs in planets or planets in signs, although we will talk about that too. The first one that I learned many years ago was the more planets that someone has in their eighth house, the more mediumship ability that they have. So
Mm.
the easier it is to communicate with spirits. And where I got this from was studying the charts of many of the 20th century's greatest psychics and mediums, such as James Van Praagh, John Edward, Edgar Casey, and it just really Sylvia Brown. It really ranges the gamut. But what I noticed is they all had packed eighth houses.
No kidding. You should definitely write a book about this.
Yeah, minimum of two planets in the house, but the more planets that they had,
Hmm.
the greater their psychic ability. So
And it
that's
doesn't
piece
matter
number
what
one.
planet it was at all. It's just,
Not at all, because what the planets tell you is how you achieve success with channeling. So if the planets are in earth signs, then it's more automatic writing or table tipping or actual physical tools. If it is air, then it's more clairvoyance, it's more cerebral.
oh wow, that's
Isn't
amazing. I
that
love
trippy?
this. Yes. It makes a lot of sense because my eighth house is Aquarius, I think. And that's that I'm more clairvoyant. So that makes a whole lot of sense. So can you
Exactly.
explain what the eighth house is to somebody who might not know what that
Yeah, the eighth house is actually one of the most complex houses in astrology. It is the house of the transformation process, so life, death, rebirth. It is the life area of occultism. It is the death industry. And what I mean by that is funeraries, mortuaries, inheritances, legacies, anything associated with what happens at the dying process. It's also the house of shared resources. So the way I always like to explain that is if you balance a shared checking account with your significant other, then you're engaged in an eighth house activity. But if
is?
you're balancing your own checkbook, then it's second house. Now, that shared resources can be extended into business as well. So, eighth house is the house of business too. So, with all those traits, you can see the one that jumps out is that it's the house of occultism.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
You know, contacting the unseen world, uh, kind of learning your way to navigate death to a certain degree, whether it is metaphoric death or actual death. And learning how to peel the skin back and investigate.
It must be really intense when Pluto moves into your eighth house.
Oh, I'm sure it is because Pluto is one of the ruling planets of the eighth house, so it's extra strong there. Yep.
Yeah, so that's like really good on necromancy workings there, I would assume.
Oh, yeah. Definitely necromancy. And that sets the stage for another house that's important, which is the 12th house. The 12th house is the last house in the zodiacal wheel. And some astrologers have this bad habit of saying it's a catch-all house. If something doesn't fit anyplace else in the chart, then toss it in the 12th.
Okay.
I get it. I don't agree with it. I don't use that, but I get the thinking behind it. Technically, the 12th house is the house of endings, the house of undoings. so self-sabotage or ingrained subconscious behavior. But the 12th house is also things that are hidden that come to the surface. So it's known as the house of hidden enemies. It's also the house of clairvoyance, getting messages through dreams, and astral projection. So if somebody's got a lot of stuff going on in the 12th house, the first thing that it tells me is their subconscious is going a million miles an hour. But
Mm-hmm.
then I can also say, well, pay attention to your dreams because you're going to get information there. And you might want to consider astral projection because you've got a natural gift for it. And here again, the planets in the particular elements tell you what kind of tools to use to achieve success with that.
Okay, so can you give example of what tool you would use if you had like water in your 12th house?
So that is actually a good one because naturally a 12th house corresponds to water because in the natural wheel it's ruled by Pisces. So with water, it's the same as it would be magically. And what I mean by that is your ability to see between the planes. Sympathetic magic is a good thing to use. You could also use water tools. I'm sure many people have seen the movie Constantine, where he has the dude put his feet in the water
Yes.
or submerse in a bath, or even if you're not going to piss your pants, putting your fingers in a cup of water. So using water as the facilitator.
Oh, wow. I never thought of that. Yeah, because I have water in my 12th house. So that's interesting. I've never actually used water in my magic. I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah, I don't use it in my magic often, even though I'm a water sign, and it's because I've got a fire grand trine and 6 planets in air. So water just doesn't do it for me for this kind of thing. But that would be the way to use it. And then conversely, like if someone had a lot of fire there, then it
Uh-huh.
would be physical activity.
Physical activity. Okay. Yep. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
What about air?
Air is more cerebral, so it's more psychological.
Mhm.
Uh, so it wouldn't necessarily be a lot of actual physical tools you would use, but rather learning how to shift your consciousness and change your mind and perspective to unlock that potential. So being mentally flexible.
And earth.
Earth is actually the physical tools. So if you wanted to do dream work and you've got Earth in the 12th house, then maybe like a mugwort tea or African dream root tea or maybe a sachet of stones that you keep underneath your pillow.
Huh. So would you say that they would do best with like ayahuasca experiences or something like that?
If the goal is astral projection or dream magic, yeah.
So somebody with earth and they're okay, that's good to know. That's cool.
Yeah, isn't it trippy?
Yes, this is all the crap you can't get on TikTok. I love this. Like,
That's why I post the same shit on TikTok and don't fucking deviate. You get my daily horoscopes, you get some ads. I'm not going to share this. You got to tune in to fantastic channels like this.
yeah, I love this so much. Oh, let me see if there's I have more questions.
Now, I see somebody in the chat says their eighth house is Aquarius. I think that's like yours. And I
Yeah.
always like that because now we can really open up the conversation to a deeper level, which is understanding that the signs are largely archetypal. And we look at examples of the signs from standard pantheons. So, for example, all the planets, most of the planets, are named after Greco-Roman deities. But with a little research, and it doesn't take a lot, Mythic Astrology by Ariel Gutman is a great place to start. You can find out that planets had different names in different cultures and they corresponded to different beings in those cultures. So, one that I work with a lot is Egyptian. For Mars, it's Horus. For Saturn, it's Set. For Mercury, it's Thoth. So then what that means is you can take those ideas of the planets and the traits of the planets and correspond them to any pantheon that you know. The reason this matters is you can take that as high as like Judeo-Christian stuff or as dark as like Clifothic stuff. And with Aquarius, of course, one of the lords of air would be Lucifer.
Makes sense.
And like we talked about Asmodeus, fire. So then is Asmodeus Leo fire, Aries fire, Sagittarius fire? That's up to you. I kind of corresponded more with Mars in general,
Yeah, I was gonna
but you
say
could,
definitely Mars.
yeah, oh, totally. Totally. Yeah, he ain't passive.
No, he'll trample you.
He'll have you burning out in the flames of your own hell.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I was reading Asnes Mason's book. Uh
Mm-hmm.
this one.
Good book.
Mm-hmm. And she
At the time out, it was at the time it came out, it was the deepest dive on the Cliffoth before she did her trilogy and I did Cliffothic Astrology and Oraculum Leviathan.
and it's still so good. I actually used this. I did a Lilith Gate opening
Hmm.
with a group, and we went through this book, and it was so good. It was so great because I love the way she looks at it from like a female perspective as well. Because a lot of the times you get male perspectives on the spirits, and that's good too. But then it's nice to have the softer feminine as well. There.
Well, that's one of the nice things about more people being independently published. You're starting to get more of a feminine voice and a feminine take on these things, and I am all for it. The
Mhm.
more diversity we can get, the better, because a lot of people don't realize that the consciousness of these spirits that we're talking about is basically an unbroken line of succession going back thousands of years. So, however well we understand a spirit, we are only understanding one facet of its psyche. So, the more perspectives we have, the more it introduces us to the multifacets of the diamond of the consciousness of that spirit.
Absolutely. And Belial is a great example of that because he will work differently with a woman than he does a man, like all day.
All day long. Amen to that.
Because as a woman, you can read a book on Belial and be like, oh no, he's gonna kick my ass. He's gonna be mean. But then when you go work with him, it's like he's like, hey. I mean, he's not like all soft, but he's also not like he doesn't treat you like he treats the men a lot of the times. Like it's a completely different experience. So
Right. And part of that is a derivative of a sports quote. In professional sports, they always say game recognizes game.
yeah,
Meaning when you're a superstar, you can recognize another superstar.
yes.
It's the same thing here. Spirit recognizes spirit. And this is actually an important lesson because you might have had a bad relationship with a spirit in a past life, and you try working with that spirit in this one, and it just goes horribly wrong. And you're like, what did I do wrong? Well, that motherfucker didn't forget what you did 2 lifetimes ago. You just don't know what you did because we got that
Right,
veil of consciousness.
right.
So sometimes you got
Just
to say,
forget.
okay, I'm not meant to work with you this lifetime. I don't know why, but sure as shit, after I die, I'm going to find him and find out why, because we got to fix this.
Right, exactly. Plus, I mean, sometimes they just don't like you because you're a piece of shit.
Right, exactly. Sometimes it's just, I can see your soul, and you want me to do what? No, take a hike.
Right, I know what you're gonna do with this. No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and then you can extrapolate this to the light side too, meaning that if you look at the elemental makeup of your chart, then you know particular angels to work with. So if you got a lot of fire in your chart, Archangel Michael. You got a lot of earth in your chart, Archangel Uriel.
Right. Is there like, do you think I don't think I asked you this already, but is there like any particular like placements that would point to what's like like there's deities, there's daemons, there's angels. I mean, there's all kinds of different magic, like ceremonial magic, chaos magic. Is there something that would point somebody to look for to point somebody to the right path for them if they were starting out? Like, do they work with angels? Do they, what kind of magic they do? Like,
There is, and some of this is simple to explain, and some of it's more complex. Uh, First of all, the sign Virgo corresponds to witchcraft and natural magic. So, witchcraft, druidry, anything that would fall under a nature-based spirituality kind of path.
so that would be like if they have a lot of Virgo in their chart altogether.
Yeah, or if one of their prominent points is Virgo, like sun, moon, or ascendant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Uh, of course, that's the easy explanation.
Hmm.
Scorpio is usually associated, strong Scorpio is associated with ceremonial magic because it's that pomp and the circumstance and the drama that's really that Scorpio nature. But you know as well as I do, anybody can do ceremonial magic. You
Right.
just put your own spin on it. In Theosophy, they've got the model of the seven rays. Each sign corresponds to a particular ray, and that gives you an idea of how to approach working with the spiritual world in a way that's in alignment with your soul. And I point this out because one of the correspondences there is that the sign Capricorn does well with ceremonial magic too.
That makes sense.
Libra is known as the most ritualistic sign of the zodiac. And when I say ritualistic, I don't just mean ritual magic, I mean living a life in ritual ways, understanding ritual, having habits, enjoying doing it. So Libra is good for ceremonial magic too.
Hmm.
And if you look at that, first time I heard that, because I'm a cynical bastard, I was just like, what?
Well, it's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah. And then,
Especially
yes, it is.
astrology. Like, what? I'm gonna look that up myself.
Right. I'm going to look that up. And sure enough, Aleister Crowley was a Libra. Jack Parsons was a Libra, if I remember right. There have been a few that have been Libra sun signs that have been excellent ceremonial magicians. So if somebody's got strong Leo in their chart or in Libra in their chart, then they might want to investigate that.
Awesome. That's great to know.
But then like Pisces, Cancer, to a large degree, they find success with more devotional work. And I think that's very interesting. I'm still kind of dealing with that psychologically because it is devotional, as in like daily prayers, working with one or two deities, really immersing yourself in that connection. So I think that is very fascinating. That's fairly unique to Pisces and Cancer, and to a lesser extent, Scorpio.
And this is not just the sun sign though, right?
Right, exactly.
So how would you know like which one would be the best for you? Like the chart ruler. What exactly is a chart ruler as well? Like is it like this is something else that I wanted to ask you about. Like is it the most dominant sign in your whole chart or is it, like what is it?
So I'm laughing because I just spent a weekend explaining this in several chart interpretations that I did.
Hmm.
Really, there are three different ways or three different perspectives on the ruler of a chart. So anybody that's ever been confused by it, don't worry about it. Professional astrologers don't even have their shit together to one method. There's multiple methods. It's like I learned in Egypt from an Egyptologist about Egyptian myths. If you don't like this story, don't worry. We got another one. You don't like that one? We got another one. We can do this all day.
Yeah.
So the ruling planet of the horoscope is generally considered either the planet that rules your sun sign,
Hmm.
the planet that rules your ascendant,
Mm.
the highest placed planet in your chart, or the planet, I guess there's four ways, or the planet that makes the most aspects to the rest of the planets in your chart.
So which one is it?
It's different for each person. That's
Oh
where the
my
pain comes
gosh.
in. Right.
Okay. So you can decide which one you want it to be then, because
Right, exactly. You look through your chart, you treat these 4 points as like a checklist, and you just go through them and you're like, "Well, I don't connect with that because my life experiences don't match that. I don't connect with this because my life experiences don't match with it. Hey, I connect with this one. Okay, that's my ruling planet."
so when you say highest point, would that be like your midheaven? So all the way up.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep, whichever one's close to the midheaven.
oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Because it is like the governing energy of your
Okay.
of your
Yeah,
chart.
mine's Aries. That does make a lot of sense.
See?
Because I always thought that it was the most that you have in your, the ruling one, the most Libras or Leos that you have. Like,
Right, exactly. It can be that too. There's no astrological authority that says it's this and all those other ways are
oh,
wrong.
it exists, but it doesn't exist. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. Take the pearl, leave the shell behind, to quote.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Thank you. Okay. Oh, it's time. Okay. You see if anybody has any questions in the chat. Do you
Yeah,
guys
we're
have
getting
any
some good
questions?
conversation.
Absolutely.
Somebody said, and I think this is interesting, they have Neptune and Sagittarius in the eighth, underworld muse. I'm
Oh,
looking
there's
at
two
you.
there. That's cool. I
I
think, yeah.
can't find much information, and so interesting. The reason that I
That was Michelle.
jumped on that one is because I too have Neptune and Sagittarius, but it's not in the eighth. And Neptune is actually very powerful to look at when you're dealing with spirits because Neptune is metaphysics, it's meditation, it is your ability to conceptualize a subject, so understanding it on a principle level. So when you work with Neptune, it's all about your cerebral flexibility. Now, that can mean meditating to understand or connect with a spirit. It could mean maybe you just do a deep dive and find out that the spirit's character comes from certain extrapolated ideas out from the culture, and then you can work with them that way. Sagittarius is the most, I'll say the most spiritual sign in the zodiac, but that's more because it corresponds to spirituality, not religion.
Ah,
So it's very much that crowd that came into being around the turn of the century. I'm spiritual but not religious. That's like Sagittarius energy. So
okay.
then with Neptune in Sagittarius, then it's all about developing your best methods for mentally wrapping your head around a particular spirit or a particular subject.
Interesting. Yeah, I did not know that about Sagittarius.
Yep, it is the spiritual but not religious crowd. And funny enough, and I'm sure you'll laugh at this, Cancer is known as the sign associated with religion.
Oh, ew. I don't identify as a Cancer. Okay. Yeah, I've never really connected much with that sign because it's like nurturing. I do cry sometimes, but I think that's a good thing.
Well, and I don't like that idea because of people's attitudes towards religion, but I
Mhm.
keep trying to introduce people to a definition of religion that I learned from spiritualism because it makes sense. Religion is living in harmony with nature's physical and spiritual laws.
So it's more pagan before the church took it over. Well, that makes a lot more sense.
Exactly, because I got
Been kind of
many
muddy.
years ago when
Too
I
much.
learned this, I got a lot of people that were cancers backlashed on me because they were like, I ain't going to church. I don't like Orthodox religion. I'm like, I'm not trying to make you. It's just what the book says. So
What's your messenger? Mm.
Yeah, yeah, cancers were kind of vocal about it, so I knew I couldn't just say religion. I had to explain, here's what we mean.
Yeah, they get emotional when you say stuff like that. See, even me, I was like, what? No.
Right. Out comes the shell.
But yeah, the whole pagan thing absolutely makes more sense. Living in because I have found I've been more in rhythm with nature and my body's natural rhythms, and like as farther I get along in working with spirit and connecting with
Right.
myself. So that makes a whole lot of sense. And I love going hiking and being out in the woods. So that makes
Exactly.
don't like going to church.
See, and that's the thing is that if you're living in tune with those laws, wherever you are, that's your temple. That's your church.
Hmm.
So it's at home, it's in the forest. It can be a backpack if you're on the go.
Right. Right. Um, is there another sign that sticks out to you that would be in your sun sign for that particular subject?
For what? For religion?
Yeah, for like
You
spirituality in general. Because you said Sagittarius was very spiritual and Cancer was more religion.
Pisces is known as a very spiritual sign too. And I want to clarify when we're talking spirituality here, we are talking about interacting with the spirit world. So we're
Oh,
not talking about ethics and morality. And I always clarify this because a lot of people think if you say you're spiritual but not religious, then it means you live a good life outside of like traditional religion programming. But I have found as many jerks that say that they're spiritual but not religious as I have found in a church on a Sunday morning. So
right.
that's not the case. Spiritual simply means you interact with the spirit world on a regular basis.
Okay. Yeah.
So then Pisces falls into that category. They're spiritual, but not in the sense of ethics and morals and raising the nose and looking down on people that are religious. It's more we just deal with the spirit world a lot.
What about uh what about those Scorpios?
So the Scorpios are the occultists.
Okay.
They're the McGregor Mathers. They're the ones that are like, I don't understand this. I'm going to immerse myself in a subject for 12 hours every day in the British Museum till I figure it out. They're the obstinate bastards. They're the ones that are like, we're just going to do this until I die or get it. So they're the grumpy old get off my lawn occultists. And I can say that because I got a Scorpio ascendant.
Yes. What about Aries? I'm just like throwing some out there of like people I know. So,
Well, so Aries spirituality is found in living their honor code.
hmm.
No matter what Aries I've met, they all have one thing in common, and that is they will stand up for what they believe in. They will testify. They're not going to let something slide. They're
Yep.
very much, that's wrong. Here's why it's wrong. Let's talk about it, or let's not talk about it. Got something else to do instead. That's
Yes.
very Aries energy. So they're doers.
What about like an earth sign like Capricorn?
Capricorn, it's funny because Capricorn is known as a traditional sign. So people with strong Capricorn usually connect with traditional techniques. And I choose my words carefully here because those traditional techniques could be traditional magical lodge techniques, or they
Hmm.
could be they connect with a traditional religion. Now, it doesn't mean that they use the religion the same way as it has been used for thousands of years. I'm thinking the idea of Christo-paganisms, Christo-pagans here. They'll say, I'm a Capricorn and I do believe in the tenets of the church. I just don't agree with how it's being practiced today. So they will update it and modernize it psychologically.
But they'll build their structure off of something similar. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And then
Hmm.
Cancer is the opposite sign of Capricorn, and they're both cardinal signs. So Cancer corresponds to tradition as well. But here again, it's I have these traditional ideas, I'm going to modernize them, make
Right.
them my own.
Hmm. I think that's good. What about somebody like the Geminis?
Geminis are great. Taste like chicken. No, I'm kidding. They don't taste like chicken. So Geminis, it's more cerebral. It's more wrapping your head around a subject. So having a good conversation with a spirit or a person about the spirit invites the spirit into their midst.
Mhm.
And funny enough, with Geminis, I'm reminded of that line out of the New Testament in the Bible where two or three are gathered in my name, there am I in their midst. And Gemini is a dual sign, so wherever a Gemini is, Christ can be there if they want it to be there. So with Gemini, it's all about the mental flexibility, it's the conversation, it's the intellectual stimulation that is more apt to make a connection. And they're also very good at moving between the planes because their ruling planet is Mercury.
Right. Yeah, and my Mercury is in Gemini, so that's interesting. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, and Mercury and Gemini is a great combination for communication, facilitation.
Hmm. And it's funny because I've always thought of myself like, I don't know, it's something I'm working on, but I've always thought of myself as like a bad communicator, but it's something that I'm kind of growing into. So it's funny that when I found out that Mercury was in its home in Gemini, I'm like, really? Because I'm constantly, like not knowing what to say and like tripping over my words. I'm like, that makes no sense. Like,
That is actually a deeper part of your chart.
hmm.
We can clarify that, and anybody who's checking this out on the YouTube channel, if you have your chart, I encourage you to have it handy. Here's what's up. Your sun sign is Cancer. Mercury is in Gemini. Gemini is the sign before Cancer. Whenever Mercury is behind the sun, it means that before you communicate, you have to take in the information, process it, synthesize it, and then roll it out. If
Oh,
Mercury is out in front of your sun, you can easily get a new idea and just immediately project it back out.
okay. That makes
So,
sense.
right. So that corresponds to learning as well as communication. People with Mercury in front of their sun tend to grasp new subjects quicker and easier and then put them into motion. Whereas people like you and I, where Mercury is behind the sun, we get the new information, but then we're going to say, does that make sense? Does that fit? Does that track?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
how do I process that? How do I understand that?
right. And
And how
then
it
we'll
relates
go
to
live with
myself.
it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So that's something else that nobody talks about in astrology. Thank you.
Nope.
Because they're like, oh, Mark, it's always absolutes with stuff that I've learned from watching things. Like, oh, your Mercury's in Gemini, so it's absolute that you're a great communicator. It's like, I don't think that that's true. Like, it's like,
Yeah, and there's a bigger problem there. The first one is each sign is a spectrum from bad qualities to good qualities, and most people are on the range of a spectrum. So a lot of videos that you see will try and say something is absolute, but it's not.
mm-hmm.
And number two, astrology is a soft science, not a hard science. Hard sciences have absolutes.
Yeah,
Soft sciences do not.
right. And I think that's why it's been so hard for me to wrap my mind around astrology because it's is a soft science.
So, in order to improve your ability with it, think of it in terms of sociology, anthropology, biology, anything that ends in an ology. So then you can learn the processes and the techniques that people in those industries use and then apply it to astrology.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, so like for example, most of those sciences use an extensive sample size to come up to a conclusion. So then when you're collecting data, if you meet one person of one sign and then you never meet anybody else again of that sign, you don't have a real clear understanding of what that sign really is. You just know that one person who embodied that sign.
Well, unless
That's
you're a Gemini or an Aries, those guys are pretty much all very similar. Like, why are they like that? Why are they like that? Oh my gosh. But yeah. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
You are quite welcome.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's let somebody else ask a question. You guys have any questions? Let's see. Anything you want Bill to clarify real quick before we jump off?
I'm scanning the comments now. I can't think of anything I want to clarify, but I want to see if there's anything here that people want clarified because there is so much misinformation out there. Now, I will clarify one thing, which is that if you have a an elemental void in your chart,
What is
there's
that?
when you lack an element.
How do you lack an element?
I don't have any earth in my chart.
Oh, I understand. Okay, yes, yes.
So there's two ways to look at that.
Yeah.
Either number one, just avoid that element altogether, or number two, you double down on your efforts to improve that element. And I say that because when it comes working with spirits, you got to take that into account. So, for example, since I don't have any earth in my chart, there are very few earth spirits that I interact with, and it's not because I have problems with them, it's because I just don't feel them.
Yes, that makes sense.
But then if I turn my attention to become a materialist and really sunk myself into the physical world, I could connect with them. But Earth moves so slow, I don't want to take 40 years to flip and do it.
Yeah, but if there was something that you wanted to improve about your earth sign, your earth, like you wanted to uh gain more material, would you then try to connect with the earth energy?
Exactly. That would be the way to do it. And that's the way I work with them is for specific goals. So
Hmm.
not an approach of I want to work with you to bring this quality out in myself, but more with the hey, I got this goal, help me achieve that goal. Then we're done chatting for now, and I'll via con Dios, I'll see you down the road.
Okay, so oh my gosh. Yeah,
And
there's
that ties into things you have said, especially your ultra popular video about pact magic. Because really, what we're talking about here is pact magic through an astrological lens.
okay, so it's not about something you'd want to bring out in yourself, but something you'd want to achieve. Like there's a big difference there.
Well, and it could be something you want to bring out in yourself, but you're right. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be about something you want to achieve. Because you do want to bring out the qualities of, I want this in my life, so I've got to put in the work to make it happen, and the spirit's going to help me with it. Well, you're still developing that within yourself to achieve your goal.
And that would be earth signs like Capricorn, where it
Virgo,
would be more
Taurus.
more structure,
Right, more practicality.
more practicality, yeah, more support. So it would be like setting up systems in your business,
Exactly.
systems that work for you. Interesting.
Right.
That's something, yeah, because I don't have a lot of earth in my chart. I think my Venus is in Taurus, and like that's it. And so I struggle with setting up systems. I mean, that's something I'm working on. I went to a fair and it was doing some Reiki for people, and we had a slow spot. So this lady gave me a rune reading, and she's like, "Structure first, structure first." And I'm like, "Okay, number one," and that like goes back to the earth, so that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and with regards to like setting up structures for yourself, I always use the serenity prayer. I'm going to focus on creating the structure I can control, not the structure that I can't control. And I can control me, and that's about it.
Yes, yes, okay, yeah, that makes so much sense. Let's see, did you guys write any questions?
So, Waters of Memory, You would need an ephemeris or to go to a website and get your chart ran for free if you want to know whether your Mercury is in front of your sun or behind your sun. And you just need to know the order of the astrological signs to get that answer. So
Yes,
you got to,
He's Leo sun and Cancer Mercury.
so then Cancer is behind the sun.
So he doesn't have to process so much before he talks.
Right. Think things through, see if it makes sense, troubleshoot it. And even this idea can sound kind of woo-woo or out there, but I've put it to work before.
Oh wait, it makes total sense to me.
Yeah, and I've seen people that they'll get, and we see this on social media all the time, especially with what's going on in society now. A new piece of information comes out, everybody jumps on it, and then you find out later that the information was wrong or intentionally misleading. And the people that are sitting back with Mercury behind their sun are like, that's why we didn't jump on it. And all
Yeah.
the people that were wrong are just like, they swindled us. No, no, you just didn't use your own skills correctly. You
So
should have done some research before blabbing your mouth.
it's safe to say we're less impulsive then, okay?
That's exactly right.
Gonna think things through. That is not a bad thing, that is for sure.
It's more of a plotting or a strategizing mindset.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Add some structure to that. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. All right. I'm looking through the chat here to see if there's anything else we can answer. There's
I'm
some
loving I'm loving all the traffic in there. That's good. Love the conversations. Keep them up.
absolutely. My group is the best. They're awesome.
Oh, and thanks for the comment about my library, Cauldron. It's a lifetime project. This is the main room, but I've got books in another room too. This is the camera ready room.
Have you read most of those?
These in here probably half to two-thirds, maybe. Haven't read them all. I'll fess up.
Do you like read a book from beginning to end or do you skim through it?
I read it beginning to end. And I used to have that bad habit, which all bibliophiles have, of starting like half a dozen books and jumping back and forth in between them.
Yeah.
For those of you that are masochists, this is a fantastic technique to break you of that habit if you want to break it. You take the books, and they've all got their bookmarks and whatever. You put them in a stack. You turn them so that the spines are away from you so you can't see what it is. And then one by one, you just randomly pull out all the bookmarks. So then you go from having a bunch started to none.
But but why?
That's why I said you got to be masochistic because you're every time you pull one out, your heart breaks a little.
Oh no. I'll never be able to find my spot. That really stresses me out.
It did me too when I did it. That's why I had a Guinness at hand. This is gonna hurt. Every time I pull a bookmark, I'm taking a swig.
That is masochistic. Oh, all right. If you guys don't have any more
Oh,
questions.
there we go. Yeah, I have books I read, and I have emotional support books. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Emotional support books. Big fan.
Yeah, I've been learning more to read books that are just fiction because it's fun instead of being productive and reading books. So,
That's why I've got my astrological strategy book coming out in a few weeks. Then there's one more slated for a release around winter solstice. and then I'll be done for the year. But that one is going to be my first full fiction book that's released.
Oh, what is it
Uh,
about?
it's a horror story.
Really?
Yep, and actually, we've got the artist of the cover, Embalmed Apple, there in the chat. She's doing the cover for it. It is a collection of my Kindle Vella episodes, Tales of Catfish Pond.
Oh.
So it's got some Lovecraftian elements in there. It's got some modern fantasy horror in there. And the whole reason I started writing is because I had a mushroom trip like 20 years ago that gave me the inspiration. But since that book, I've started writing more fiction for the exact same reasons that you mentioned. I'm writing all this astrology and magic, and then if I need to blow off steam, I'll pop open one of my fiction books and I'll just start writing it. So I totally get where you're coming from. I do the exact same thing because sometimes you got to give the brain a break.
You do gotta give the brain a break. And that's when things come through for you too. Like rest is important.
Exactly.
Hi.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
this
actually
is
can't wait for that. I will probably purchase that from you because I love horror and fiction fantasy books.
it's very Lovecraftian, but the
hmm
deeper you go into the book, the more I deviate from a Lovecraftian feel into more of a modern fantasy horror feel. But in the early part, it's very Lovecraftian with the way things are described. Like it's set in New England for starters.
Oh,
Right. So you do get that kind of homage to Lovecraft is a good way to look at it.
it makes me feel Stephen King too because it's New England.
Originally, I wanted to set the stories in the Pac Northwest, but the more I wrote and the more feedback I got from people when the episodes were going out on Kindle Vella, the more I decided to just make it New England and tie into that vibe of Stephen King and H.P. Lovecraft.
Hmm. So I've been reading a lot of Sarah J. Maas lately. So is there any dirty parts in it?
There's a shit fountain. I think there
It's
is a
not the
threesome
kind
in
of
there
dirty I'm
somewhere.
talking about, but yeah, great.
I think there is a threesome in there, maybe. Not a lot of romance. There is some sex, a little bit of sex.
Awesome.
Yeah, the steamy stuff, no, that's in the Dark Trinity anthology where I published a couple of short stories that are steamy for that.
God, you have so many books I don't even know about. For real. That's awesome.
So once Tales of Catfish Pond comes out, it'll be 25 books in 10 years. But I've been writing essays and short stories and rituals for anthologies for about 14 years. And I think I'm right around the 80 mark as far as number of pieces written over like 36 to 40 anthologies. So I totally get why you're not familiar with all of it because it's
Yeah.
starting to get massive. Now,
Yeah.
some of the stuff I've collected into smaller editions, like Tales from the Desert is a compilation I released with Become a Living God of my essays from their Nine Demonic Gatekeeper series. So you don't have to get all nine books, you can just get that. Or Pyromanic Verses is a collection of all my Temple of Ascending Flame work that were out
hmm
in those anthologies. So I have done a few of those over the years to make it easier so you don't have to track all these down.
Man, you should talk about that more on your social media because yeah, there's so many that I don't know about. So if I don't know about them, nope.
Right, exactly. Most people don't, and you're right. That is a project I've got is to get that more organized, get it more broadcast out there because people don't know it. And it cracks me up that people don't know it because I've been doing it for so long. You would have stumbled across it on your own, but here I am assuming.
Yep. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right, so I'll let you go. I won't take up any more of your time. Thank
It's
you
all
so
good.
much for answering my questions and my group's questions. I will post all of your links and all your social media. Just send that to me. Send
Sure.
everything to me and I'll post it into the group.
I'll
So,
I'll just send you my link tree.
yes, yeah, great
I'm
idea.
all for working smarter.
Yes, I have a link tree now too, and I love it. It's like,
Yes,
oh,
it's
everything's in
fantastic,
one
isn't it?
place. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
And thank you for posting those memes every day. I really love them. And
Oh, you are quite welcome.
I will heart every one of them.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you do too. Bye bye.